So that day I had given you all an insight about IOC, correct?
Yes, sir.
Inversion of control, and one of the tasks of IOC is dependency injection. Okay, so to manage all this, we have beans. Spring is built on the topics of your beans. Okay, so what are these beans? These are your ready-made objects. What can you think of bean as?
Ready-made objects.
Contained in the where IOC
IOC.
contain. Okay, so whenever there is a need of an object of a particular class, the IOC container job is to provide that object and manage the life cycle of the object. So the IOC container will do what? Will create the object, okay, will supply the object, will manage its life cycle also. By managing life cycle, I mean that after the constructor, if you want to invoke some message immediately, as soon as the object is created, I want to invoke this method ABC. So this also the IOC container will do for you. Okay, this is, you can call it as a startup method. Okay, so at the start, once the object is created, I want one method to be called. Then before the object is given to the destructor to destroy, so before destruction, I want an method to be invoked XYZ. Okay, so you can call this as a tear down function. Okay, so all this will be managed by the IOC container. So we don't, now the headache of creating the object is relieved from the programmer. It's all given to the IOC container. Am I understood? So the IOC container will keep the objects in the form of beans. So if we have two objects in the IOC container, means how many beans do we have?
Two beans.
Two beans. If we have 10, then
10 beans.
so like this, the IOC container is a collection of lots of beans. Okay, and now we have two types of IOC containers. In fact, we have three, but even if you know two is more than sufficient. Okay, so this is asked in the interview. So I was discussing with a 4 years old experienced programmer. So in the discussion, I asked him. So he told that that he had given an interview, and in that interview, one of the question what the interviewer asked is, what is IOC container and what are the types of IOC container? So types of IOC container. How many are there?
3.
Yeah. The first is your second is your and third they call it as a web container. Okay. So, but we are more concerned with the first two. So we are more concerned with the which one? Core container and
J2EE.
J2 double E container. Okay, that we are more concerned with these two. Okay, so for using these, we have an interface and a concrete class. Okay, so which interface is the core container built on? The interface name is Bean Factory. What is the interface name?
Bean factory.
Okay, and we all know interface is of is only helpful once we have an implementation class of the interface, correct? So the class which is implementing this is called as XML bean factory, which is the class
XML effect.
you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so what is the class which we use?
XML bean control.
Okay,
Factory.
so directly there's only one level of implementation. Okay, so this ideally should be what? Internally it should have what? Class XML bean factory implements, yes,
Bean factory.
bean factory, perfect. Okay, this should be the internal. So when you see this class, it should look something like this. Okay, and here we have three level. We have a parent interface, okay, whose name is application context. What is the name? What is the name?
Application context.
Okay, then this interface is extended by another interface whose name is configurable application context. What is it?
Configurable application.
This is also an interface, okay, and then the class which implements the configurable application context is class path application context. What is it?
Class path application context.
Class path XML.
Class path XML.
Okay, so if we wish to use the J2EE container, then we will have to use this class in our application, and if you want to use the core container, then we'll have to use, okay, and the J2EE container is built on top of the core container. Okay, so it has additional features which are not there in the core container. Okay, so this we will discuss the comparison between them. Okay, so core container and plus some advanced features makes your J2EE container. Okay, so what are the basic type of IOC containers we have? Tell me.
Core container. J2EE container.
Yeah, and these are the interfaces and the classes for implement them. Okay, and the container will contain all your objects, right? So we can fetch the object from the container. Okay, so how will the container create the object? So now if I have a class, let's say if I have a class student and it has these properties, okay, and it can have primitive and non-primitive properties. A class can have primitive and non-primitive attributes, right? We did that this last time around, remember?
Yes.
So this is your primitive, and if let's say we have a class called address, okay, and we have integer, street number, string, locality, and string, building name or whatever, yeah, let's say building name XYZ, and integer floor number, integer flat number XYZ, house number rather. Okay. So now a student can have an address, correct?
Yes.
can have one address, can have more than one address. So if he has one address, I can say A1. If he has more than one address, I will say array. Correct? So let's
Yes,
say
sir.
as of now we have one address, 1:1 mapping. So a student can also have a array. Let's say the mobile numbers which a student maintains. So I want to keep that as an array of. Then I can also have your collection objects over here. So if he has a list of something, if he has a set of something, if he has a map of something, all these can be there in a class, correct?
Yes, sir.
So all your, apart from this, everything is primitive. Everything is what?
Primitive.
And what is non-primitive? When we need a object, correct?
Yes, sir.
So these are all the primitive attributes of my class student, irrespect, and this is the non-primitive attributes of my class student. Okay, so you can have a list, a set, a map, all this. So let's say if in a student I want to have list of courses he is doing. Okay, then I want to also have a set of, let's say, teachers who are teaching him, like something XYZ. And then I want to do a map, then map of his grades. Okay, so his class, in which class he got which grade. So string and string. Okay, so in 9th standard he got A grade, 10th, in 8th standard he got B grade, whatever. So I can store all these in a class. Makes sense to you guys? Is this making sense?
Yes, sir.
So what comes under primitive and what comes under non-primitive? Apart from the object, the class which we are referring over here, rest all are primitives. Okay, so now if I want an object of this class, where will the values come from? The object will come from the IOC container, correct? But what will be the value of the roll number, name, mobile, courses? Where will it get these values from?
From constructor
No, we
or
will
from
get these values from the bean file, XML bean file. Which file? So we have to maintain a bean configuration file in the XML format, the IOC container, and then we will tell the IOC container that fetch the details of that object from here. Are you all trying to understand what I'm trying to say? So see what we will be needing. First, we will have a driver app that will have which method?
main method.
Makes sense to you all? Then we will have this student class. This we will call as a model class or entity class. Okay, so the classes which contain the data are called as which classes? Are called as model classes. Are called as what?
Model class.
So have you all heard of MVC architecture? Yes, no,
No,
maybe. So in MVC, M stands for model, V stands for view, C stands for controller. This is your which architecture?
MVC.
Okay. So what is M?
Model.
So what is model? Model is the class which contains the data. Model is the what?
Class which contains data.
Which, so this model class data will be flowing through the application, will be flowing through the, so from one place to another place I will be sending the model class. So whatever will flow in the the data which will flow in the application, that data, that class is called as your application, your model class. So imagine this to be a football field. Okay, so what flows between the 11 players, what do they pass to each other?
Ball.
The football, right? So this football is passed from one player to another player in the entire field, correct? So in our application, the data which will flow from the application, okay, the data which will flow through the entire application and which will be eventually stored in the database, and then from the database it will be fetched and displayed on the front end, right? What will be the flow
Yes.
of our application? So if we are designing, like the girls had made a project last semester on employee management system, so you all had a screen, right, to register a teacher or register a employee. So you all had employee number, employee name, employee gender, employee date of birth, blah blah blah, other attributes. So this data you all accepted in an Angular 8 front end form, right? Angular 8 front end form, and then you all made a button called as save. So when you all clicked on save, this data from the front end came to your backend application. So this data was of some class, right? You all made some class to store this data. So if you all had given over here employee number, employee name, salary, whatever, XY, the gender, date of birth. So in the backend, you all had made some class to store this information, correct? And this information was then flowing from your application. So from the front end, it came to your backend application, and from the backend application, it went to the database. So and you say record inserted successfully. And when you wanted to see the list of employees from the backend, you fetch the data and then you displayed that on the front end. So the data which was flowing in the application, that class is called as the model class. It's called as what? Which class?
Model.
Model, or also you can call it as entity class. Also called, you can call it as which class?
Entity.
So here this is the data which I need, right? Of which class?
Student.
So that is my model class. So I will have one triggering class which will trigger the application. That is my driver app, the application class, right? Which will have the main method, right? And then I will have the model classes. And then third entity what I will have is the bean file. Okay, so it's a XML file, which is of which file? So this XML file, you know, XML tags are like HTML tags. This XML file will hold all the information what I want to store. So if I want to make a student with roll number 101 and name Alice, so that will come over here, roll number 101 and name is Alice. Okay, this is not the proper syntax, it's just a rough abstract I am showing you. So from where and for which class am I using this? So I'll make a bean over here. I'll make a bean. For which class is this? The fully qualified name of the class. So with all the packages. So if my base package is com.enumtech, so com.enumtech, and then what is the name of the class? Student. Okay.
Student.
And every bean has a unique ID. So I will say it as S1. Okay. So and now slash bean. So now the information of that object will be kept in the XML file. So you have to maintain an XML file. You can name it anything. You can name it anything. You can name it config. You can name it my config, XYZ, whatever name you want to give, and you can place it into a folder called as resources. Okay, this is the standard place where you place this XML file in the resources folder. So the IOC container will fetch the data for that object from the config.xml bean file. Is this understood? Okay, is the
Yes.
theoretical part understood? I'm not asking about the practical part. Is the theoretical part understood till now? What I've taught, whatever it is there in this slide, is this understood? Who can recap? So now let's do some practical of it. So where is my Eclipse? You see my Eclipse screen, right? I go
Yes,
to
sir.
new project, and I say my first spring bean, okay, and I finish. Okay, so it comes to my first spring bean. See, so here you see my src folder. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So in the src folder I will make first a package for the driver class, correct? So I go on in this src. Why is it not responding? It's taking time. Okay. So I go to src, I go to new, I go to package, and I say com dot enumtech dot app. Okay, this is my application folder. So in this application folder I will make what? Which class? Which class will I make? Driver app, and that driver app will contain my main method. Okay, make sense till now? Okay, then I also want the entity. So I go to the src and say new, and I make a new package com dot enumtech dot model. Okay, so you can call it as a model or the entity package, whatever name you wish to. And in this model class I will make model package, I will make a class called as student. Make sense? And then I'll go to src and make a not a package. If I want to store a file I will make a folder. If you want to store a file, what do you make? Folder. And what name do I give to it?
Resource.
Resources. And in this resources what do I place? I make a new file. Okay, and you can give whatever name you want to give. Okay, I say my bean, whatever name you want to give, you can give apple.xml, whatever. What have I given?
Might be.
So is this folder structure understood till now what I have done? Okay, so this is telling that it is a bean, but it is not having the, it is a XML file, right? A XML file can only be a valid XML file when it has a root tag. When it has a what?
Root tag.
You have to have some root tag for a XML document to be valid. Okay, so the root tag is beans. What is the root tag?
Bean.
Beans, and you can place all the beans inside your this beans root tag. So whatever beans I will make it in over here. Okay, so those many classes, those objects I want to place in the IOC container, and I want to customize them as per my own need. So I will make those many beans. Okay, so now I want to make a class student over here which has what? What are the properties? Tell me. Just take two properties at the moment.
Roll number, name, sir.
Yeah, just take these two properties, okay? And then whatever you want to give, you can write your getter, setters, and constructors, okay? Okay, as of now, let's skip that and let's just have one function display, okay? Just have a display function. Okay, just have a plain constructor. Just have a plain vanilla constructor. And just sys out student object created, okay? And just in our function, okay, what is the difference between these two? Any guesses? Why is it throwing an error over here? What is the difference between line number 7 and line number 12?
Sir, return type नहीं थी फिर
कंस्ट्रक्टर को देते क्या रिटर्न टाइप अपन?
सर लेकिन ये कंस्ट्रक्टर नहीं है ना 12 लाइन वाला
क्यों नहीं है कंस्ट्रक्टर?
मेथड है सर क्योंकि क्लास नेम और वो सेम नहीं है
ओके, क्योंकि कैपिटल एस नहीं है,
कैपिटल में नहीं है
कैपिटल एस नहीं है इसके लिए, समझा? Good, nice, I like that. Okay, so you display, and to display you say sys out, and you display the roll number and name. Just simple. Okay, that's all we have in this class. So now the roll number and name, from where will I get it? Roll number and name, from where will I get it? I will get it from the bean. So I'll go and configure my bean also over here. Okay, 1 second. So I'll go and configure my bean for you guys. So if you want to run the configuration, I just shared you all 4 to 5 files. Okay, we'll have to configure that over here first. What is this showing an eye? Okay, this is just an empty as of now, right? So we haven't configured it. So if you want to run your Spring Bean project, no, what you'll have to do is write and go to build path and go to configure build path. Okay, you are able to see my screen, right? So we have to add four jar files. Okay, so go to add external jars, and those jar files I have stored in my local in this folder, and I have shared it with you all also. You all can also show. So Spring jars new, Spring framework 2, go to dist, go to resources, go to modules and take the first, third, fourth and fifth file. Which one? And add it to your application. Apply and close. And now these beans, no, they have a, see, when I make my bean class, now this is very crucial. When I make my bean class, no, the bean class has to follow some set of rules. That is, the rules are governed by the DTD and XSD. So let me show you all. So when I make my bean class, no, beans are XML file. XML, it's an XML file, correct? Have you all worked on an XML document before? We worked on web app, right? This document we have worked on, right? Web.xml.
yes yes
So web XML file, no, has some certain rules and regulations. So this is my own tag. Okay, so I can make any tag. Okay, I can also make a tag by num tag also, because it is called as extensible markup language. You can make your own customized tag also. But when I'm making an application, I want to use the tag which are recognized with Spring. Okay, so the tag should be well formed and valid. First thing is what? The element should be what? Tag mean element, right? What is this? Element. So that element, XML element should be, first thing what?
Well formed.
Well formed. Okay. Well formed means syntax it will check. What will it check? So if I open a tag, okay, if I open web app, okay, this is a valid tag, but it is not well formed. Why is it not well formed?
Because closing is not correct.
Closing is not correct. So your tag should be well formed, and second, it should be valid. It should be what? So if
Valid.
in my application I have the tag called as bean, and I know I can make customized tag, and I make a tag like this. Is this a valid tag? So who will govern this? So you have to add a DTD and XSD at the start of your bean file. So in that it has all the rules and regulation what your config file should follow. So from where will you get that rules and regulation? So you don't have to by heart it. All you have to do is go to this folder. Okay, go to dist, go to modules we have this, right? Go to resources, and you see over here Spring 2 XML document type definition. You see this? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, sir.
So open it in Notepad++ and go to line number 36, 37. Which line you see over here? So just copy this and paste it in your application as the very first line of your. Okay, so this will make it as a valid XML document. Now that error has gone, which was coming over here as I. Okay, and now you make your beans tag, and in the beans tag now you can place all your beans whatever you want to place. Is this making sense to you guys? Now go in the bean. Now go in the beans tag and now make a bean. So every bean will have a ID. So let's say I make ID as S1, and that bean will be associated to a class. Which is that class for which I'm making the bean? The fully qualified name of that class is what?
Package name.
Fully qualified name. Yes, you have to give the fully qualified name. Okay, and now I can inject this data via constructor or via the setter methods, right? So I can do
Yes, sir.
two types of dependency injection, SDI and CDI. So let's now inject this data via the setter. First, let's do via setter. So in my student.java, I will go and I will make setter methods. I will make what? Let's generate both at the moment. But even if you just generate because for the reading I'm using the display class, right? This display method I'm using to read, but no problem, we can have both. So now I will inject this data from my bean into this class using this setters. So for that we have to use property. Okay, so this spelling should be matching. I cannot give any random spelling because I have given this DTD XSD, so it will take the syntax from there. Okay, so what is the name of the first property in my class? Yes, no, maybe. Roll number, right? And what value do you want to set for that? So you can say over here the value I want to set for that is 101, and then you can take the next property. What is the next property? S name. The value I want to set for that is Alice. So now whenever I tell the IOC container give me a bean whose ID is S1, it will give me a bean of this class. So the object on the LHS should be of this class, and then it will instantiate that object with these values. So if I call display with that object, it will display me 101 and Alice. Got it? And now go to your driver app. Now go to your driver app and now first read that config file. Okay. So for that we have a class called as resource. Okay, make an object of that resource class, and this is a reference. The object is class path resource. Class path. Okay, so try to inherit it, extend, import these, and take it from the core IO package. Okay, don't take from the Java annotation, take it from the core IO. Similarly, you have got class path resource. Okay, and what is now, where have we placed our file? In the resources, and what name have we given to our file? mybean.xml, correct? So this will read the location from where, and now I will make an object of my. Let's first make the core container. So which is the class for core container? Which is the class for core container? New XML bean factory, correct? And we will do a pp new c, and where will this read the data from? Which resources? This res. And now the parent interface is what? Bean factory. Whatever reference you want to make for that. Okay, I've just made object called as factory. Now import these also. Okay, bean factory and XML bean factory. Now using this factory object, I say get bean, and I have to give the ID of that bean which I want. So which bean I want? So it will give me an object of which class?
Student
So I
class.
will typecast it that whatever will come will be of student class. And then on the LHS, what will I need? Whose object? Student class object. Okay, import student class also. And now with this SOBJ, what can I call display or not? So what will it display me? So now this bean factory will create that object. Okay. So we'll go over. So when I say get bean S1, it goes over here. What is the bean ID S1? So which it will throw the object of which type? Student type. So I will on the LHS I will keep that. And whatever it does, I will typecast it to student and then store it over there. So it will now take the object, and the values of that S1 is being injected to the setters. So this is when we use property, means we are doing setter dependency injection. So S1 has roll number and name. So value of S number and roll number and name will come from this file. So here object is created at line number 15. So an object is created whose values are 101 and Alice. So if I display, let's see if it displays me that. So I do a run. I do a run as Java application, and it should display me 101 and Alice. Okay, what happened? Where is it breaking? Where is it breaking? For bean with S1 defined class resource, nested exception not found. Okay, have we given the correct path? to the class path. How have we spelled resources? resources, resources. And what is the name of the class over there? mybean.xml. Yeah, mybean.xml, and this is what we have given, res. Okay, in loading, it is not able to load the XML file. That is where it is causing a problem. So resources has been, and this is property closed. Yeah, dtdxsd also is given properly. Yes, folder name also is correct. Resources slash mybean. It is not able to pick the class. Cannot find student from bean s1. Exception. It is not able to detect the resources folder. Let me check. पैकेज का नाम सही नहीं है ना, देखो ना, डॉट मॉडल नहीं दिया अपन ने। हाँ, अब देखते हैं, अब ये रन हो जा रहा है। तो ये इशू था कि उसको वो बीन नहीं मिल रही। समझी गए हो? तो कंस्ट्रक्टर भी कॉल हो गया, उसको बीन भी मिल गया, उसने डेटा भी ले लिया। कोई शक? इट्स गुड। सो बीन क्या है मालूम है क्या समरीन? आईओसी कंटेनर जो है सबका ऑब्जेक्ट रखता है ना अपने पास। आईओसी कंटेनर क्या करता है? सारे ऑब्जेक्ट्स आईओसी कंटेनर में ना, तो वो जो ऑब्जेक्ट्स के अंदर जो डेटा रहता है ना, वो डेटा वो कहां से लेता है?
बीन से लेता है।
एक्सएमएल फाइल से लेता है। कहां से लेता है?
एक्सएमएल फाइल से।
एक्सएमएल फाइल। तो वो जो एक्सएमएल फाइल में जो डेटा है ना, वो बीन है। तो हर ऑब्जेक्ट का डेटा के लिए एक उन्होंने बीन बनाया रहता है। तो अभी आईओसी कंटेनर में मुझे मालूम है स्टूडेंट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट है ना? क्योंकि मैंने जब उसको बोला कि मुझे फैक्ट्री से जब गेट ऑब्जेक्ट दे, तो मुझे स्टूडेंट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट चाहिए था ना। तो तुमने देखा क्या मैंने कभी ये किया हो प्रोग्राम में? कभी देखा तुमने? ये किया मैंने?
नहीं किया। तो
ये इंस्टेंसिएशन का काम मैं नहीं करूंगा अभी। मुझे स्टूडेंट की डिपेंडेंसी है, स्टूडेंट की हाजत है, पर मैं ऑब्जेक्ट मैं नहीं बनाऊंगा अभी। मेमोरी का मैं मैनेज नहीं करूंगा। तो क्या करूंगा मैं? आईओसी कंटेनर को बोलूंगा। तो फैक्ट्री किसका ऑब्जेक्ट है? फैक्ट्री किसका ऑब्जेक्ट है? एक्सएमएल बीन का है ना? बीन फैक्ट्री का है ना? फैक्ट्री किसका ऑब्जेक्ट है? इस क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट है ना वो। पेरेंट क्लास रेफरेंस कैन पॉइंट टू चाइल्ड क्लास ऑब्जेक्ट नो।
यस।
तो एक्सएमएल व्हील फैक्ट्री का मैंने ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया, और फैक्ट्री अभी क्या बोल रहा है कि मेरे को एक स्टूडेंट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट चाहिए। क्या चाहिए?
स्टूडेंट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट।
अब वो स्टूडेंट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट का डेटा कौन से बीन में रखा हुआ है? जहां पर उस ऑब्जेक्ट का डेटा हुआ रखा रहता है ना, वो बीन रहती है। तो बीन उस क्लास के ऑब्जेक्ट को डेटा स्टोर करती है। तो मैंने अभी क्या बोला? फैक्ट्री से मुझे क्या चाहिए? स्टूडेंट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट, राइट?
यस।
तो उस स्टूडेंट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट का डेटा कहां रखा हुआ है?
बीन में।
कौन से बीन में? जिसका आईडी S1 है।
अच्छा, जिसका आईडी S1।
समझ में आ रहा है?
समझ। तो
ये डेटा आप XML में भी रख सकते हो, आप एक क्लास में भी रख सकते हो, क्लास फाइल में, डॉट क्लास। समझ में आ रहा है आपको? आप XML में रखो, आप जो है डॉट क्लास में रखो। तो आगे हम करेंगे विदाउट डॉट एक्सएमएल, सिर्फ डॉट क्लास फाइल से कैसे हम एक बीन क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। अभी हम बीन किससे क्रिएट कर रहे हैं?
XML से।
यस, तो वही टेक्निक नहीं है, आगे हम लोग बीन क्रिएट करेंगे क्लास फाइल के अंदर। समझ में आ रहा नहीं समझ में आ रहा?
सर ये देखो स्टूडेंट S1 इक्वल टू स्टूडेंट, ये तो टाइप कास्ट
देखो ये बीन का नाम है, ये तो आपके ऑब्जेक्ट का
हाँ,
नाम है, तो आप कुछ भी लग सकते थे, ठीक है। तो आपने इधर माय स्टूडेंट लिख दिया। हाँ भाई बोलो।
हाँ, तो देखो सर स्टूडेंट माय स्टूडेंट इक्वल टू स्टूडेंट, यानी ये तो टाइप
कास्टिंग हो रहा है। हाँ
हाँ, फिर उसके बाद फैक्ट्री डॉट बीन S1,
गेट
S1
बीन,
जो ये है ना, S1 जो है ना वो XML फाइल में
बीन का आईडी है। हर बीन जो है ना, बीन को 8 से 9 एट्रीब्यूट्स रहते हैं। जैसे अपने फॉन्ट टैग है ना, फॉन्ट टैग को कितने एट्रीब्यूट रहते हैं HTML में? तो ये टैग बोलते हैं, इसको इसके एट्रीब्यूट्स बोलते हैं, है ना? याद है?
हाँ सर, हाँ
क्या फेस फैमिली क्या बोलते हैं आप लोग इसको? टाइप है ना, कुछ तो ऐसा है ना? अरे ऐसे टैग को होते हैं ना एट्रीब्यूट्स यार,
हाँ सर होते हैं,
हो ना? तो वैसे ही बीन एक टैग हो गया ना,
हाँ
तो इसके 8 से 9 एट्रीब्यूट्स हैं। पहला एट्रीब्यूट क्या पढ़ा आपने?
आईडी।
दूसरा एट्रीब्यूट, ऐसे इसके 8 से 9 एट्रीब्यूट्स, वो भी पढ़ेंगे अपन डिटेल में, शायद कल ही करेंगे उसको। तो अभी तक तो मैं तुमको सिर्फ 2 एट्रीब्यूट सिखाए हैं, ऐसे इसके अंदर 8 से 9 एट्रीब्यूट आते हैं बीन टैग के। तो वो सारे के सारे एट्रीब्यूट पे अपने को एक्सपर्टीज हासिल करनी है। तो अभी अपन सिर्फ क्या बोले, आईडी, और अपन ने उसको आईडी क्या दे दिया, S1। और ये बीन कौन से क्लास की होंगी, तो उसका फुल्ली क्वालिफाइड नेम चाहिए इधर।
हाँ पूरा।
और उसको अपन सेटर से इंजेक्ट कर रहे हैं। किससे इंजेक्ट कर रहे हैं?
सेटर से।
तो क्या करें, तो प्रॉपर्टी, हाँ सेटर के लिए। अगर आप कंस्ट्रक्टर से करते हैं ना, कंस्ट्रक्टर तो प्रॉपर्टी यूज नहीं करते, फिर आप करते हैं कंस्ट्रक्टर आर्ग्स। क्या करते हैं?
अच्छा, कंस्ट्रक्टर
आर्ग। और XML के अंदर अगर 2 वर्ड हो तो उसको हाइफन से सेपरेट करते हैं। किससे करते हैं सेपरेट? जैसे ना URL मैपिंग, याद है क्या?
हाँ सर याद है।
सर्वलेट नेम, सर्वलेट क्लास, कैसे करते हैं सेपरेट आप? वेलकम फाइल लिस्ट। तो अगर आप कंस्ट्रक्टर से कर रहे हो तो कैसे करेंगे? कंस्ट्रक्टर आर्ग ओपन, कंस्ट्रक्टर आर्ग क्लोज।
हाँ।
और अगर आप सेटर से कर रहे तो प्रॉपर्टी। अब ये प्रॉपर्टी की स्पेलिंग प्रॉपर्टी है क्या प्रॉपर्टी है, ये कैसे करेंगे? ये कोई बताएगा? ये अपने जो पहले ऐड किया ना DTD XSD, वो बोलेगा कि वेल फॉर्म्ड है क्या नहीं। समझ में आ रहा है?
हाँ,
तो अपने को हाँ, तो ये मेरा कस्टमाइज XML कैन टेक कस्टमाइज टैग्स आल्सो ना, तो टेक्निकली ये करेक्ट है। बट ये वो प्रॉपर्टी का काम नहीं करेगा जो बीन वाला काम कराता है, क्योंकि बीन वाला बोलता है मेरे को प्रॉपर्टी चाहिए। तो ये वेल फॉर्म भी चाहिए और वैलिड भी चाहिए, करेक्ट?
यस सर।
ऐसा तो ये सब, तो जितना भी IOC कंटेनर में ऑब्जेक्ट्स है उसका डेटा बीन्स के थ्रू जाता है। अब वो बीन्स आप रख लो XML में या बीन आप रख लो क्लास फाइल में, जैसा आप
सर ये बीन हमको अभी फिलहाल तो हमको कंपलसरी करनी है क्रिएट, है ना?
हाँ, तो अगर तो आप डेटा क्या रखेंगे फिर? आप जब आप जो है गेट बीन बोलोगे, उस क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट चाहिए आपको, तो उस क्लास के ऑब्जेक्ट का डेटा क्या चाहिए वो तो नहीं, वो आपको बताना पड़ेगा ना।
हाँ, और सर मुझे ये भी पूछना था, अभी फॉर एग्जांपल देखो आपने लिखा था प्रॉपर्टी टैग के अंदर ओके,
नेम
इक्वल टू रोल नंबर था और वैल्यू इक्वल टू,
ये सेम चाहिए, क्लास का जो प्रॉपर्टी है उसका नाम सेम चाहिए।
तो सर मुझे ये पूछना था, हम लोग तो वैल्यू खुद से दे देना, फिर नेम हम लोग खुद से दे दें, हम लोग रोल नंबर भी खुद से दे दें, लेकिन अगर तो हम लोग स्टैटिक वैल्यू पास कर रहे हैं, तो ये डायनेमिक,
ये हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, एक बीन बना के रख दे रहे IOC कंटेनर के अंदर कि भाई जब भी वो स्टूडेंट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट मांगे तो ये उठा के दे देना उसको।
हाँ।
तो ये अपने IOC कंटेनर के अंदर एक इस क्लास का बीन लाके रख दिए।
हाँ
हाँ
तो सर ये तो हमने खुद ने रखे ना, हमको
हाँ
यूजर से फॉर एग्जांपल चाहिए तो
यूजर से अगर अपने को चाहिए, देखो बीन क्या करता, यूजर्स को ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएशन के हेडेक से रोक देता। तो अपन आगे जाके बहुत सारे इनबिल्ट क्लासेस के बीन्स यूज करेंगे। किसके यूज करेंगे?
इनबिल्ट क्लासेस।
तो उसके ऑब्जेक्ट्स भी इनबिल्ट रहते, अपने को सिर्फ वो ऑब्जेक्ट चाहिए रहता बस, उसके इंटरनल में अपने को जाना नहीं रहता। जैसे अगर अपन स्प्रिंग बूट करेंगे तो अपने को सर्विस क्लास लगेंगी। क्या लगेंगी?
सर्विस क्लास। तो
वो सर्विस क्लास का एक ऑब्जेक्ट रहेगा, अपने को सिर्फ वो ऑब्जेक्ट चाहिए बस। उनको क्या चाहिए? सर्विस
ऑब्जेक्ट,
उसका ऑब्जेक्ट चाहिए अपने को बस, जो भी। अब उसके अंदर क्या है अपने को उसमें झांकना की जरूरत नहीं है। अब वो ऑब्जेक्ट मुझे कौन लाके दे रहा है? वो बीन लाके दे रही। तो बीन इंटरनली कैसे उसने कॉन्फ़िगर किया है क्लास बनाने वाले ने, अपने को उसमें जाने की डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। सिर्फ अपने को क्या चाहिए अपने को वो बताना है बस। समझ में आया तेरे को? तो मेन इसका टास्क ये है कि प्रोग्रामर जो है बार बार न्यू कीवर्ड कर करके ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट नहीं करेगा। उसको जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट चाहिए वो कंटेनर से उठाएगा और कंटेनर का उसका ऑब्जेक्ट बना रहेगा। गेटिंग द पॉइंट?
यस।
तो अगर आपको एग्जिस्टिंग ऑब्जेक्ट चाहिए तो आप बीन यूज करो, और आप बोल रहे हैं मैं डायनामिकली क्रिएट करो, तो खुद बनाओ फिर आप।
अच्छा वैसे है क्या?
हाँ
सर और सपोज अभी देखो बीन आईडी S1 है, और अगर हमको और भी करने हैं तो हम लोग सिर्फ
जितने चाहिए आप जितने चाहिए उतने भी बना सकते हैं आप। S2 बना लो, ठीक है। अब से यहाँ जाके मैं चेंज कर दूंगा उसका आईडी, तो मुझे वो बैन दे देगा। तो यहाँ गया मैं और सिर्फ क्या बोल दिया मैंने? S2, ठीक है। तो जितने चाहो उतना आप रख सकते हो। तो उस एप्लीकेशन के लिए मुझे जितने कॉन्फ़िगरेशन, तो मोस्टली इसमें कॉन्फ़िगरेशन फाइल्स रहते हैं। क्या रहते हैं? ये ड्राइवर क्लास, ड्राइवर का पाथ। अब तुम वो लेने वाले क्या यूजर से? तो आप ही रखेंगे ना। तो इसके लिए अपन अपने कॉन्फ़िगर कर रहे प्रोग्राम को, जो चीज़ अपने को यूजर से नहीं चाहिए वो सब रखेंगे इसके अंदर। समझ में आ रही? देखो जैसे अपन एप्लीकेशन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में क्या रखते थे भाई? ड्राइवर का पाथ, ड्राइवर का क्लास का नाम, है ना। तो जो चीजें मुझे यूजर से लेनी है वो तो मैं गेट पैरामीटर से लूंगा ना। वहां से क्यों लूंगा मैं? कॉन्फ़िग फाइल से। तो कॉन्फ़िग फाइल में तो मेरे एप्लीकेशन के कॉन्फ़िगरेशन है ना, जो मुझे डायनामिकली नहीं चाहिए।
जो कि सेम रहेंगे पूरे।
समझ ली तू? तो कौन सा किसका यूज है वो रखने का, ठीक है। बात समझ में नहीं आ रही?